If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless LED panel options, comparing lumens, color temperature charts, and mounting kits, and you're still left with that uneasy feeling that you might pick the wrong light for your shoots, this review is meant to clear that fog. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been in the market for a touring-grade panel for a while, talked to a handful of fellow creators, and dug through the forums where people argue over whether a 3.9mm diffusion sheet actually makes a noticeable difference. What you'll hear now is a straightforward walkthrough of what the Blizzard Lighting IRiS GT3 XL actually brings to the table, where it shines, and where you might want to keep looking. Let's start with the scenario that most of us face. You're on a location shoot. The sun is either too harsh or refuses to break through the clouds, and you need a light that can be set up in a minute, give you consistent color, and won't eat up the battery bank you're already carrying. The IRiS GT3 XL is marketed as a pro touring panel, and the first thing you notice is its size. At roughly 1.5 feet wide, it's big enough to flood a medium-sized interview set with soft, even light, yet it's still compact enough to slide into a standard hard case. That balance of surface area to footprint is the sweet spot for anyone who does a mix of indoor interviews, small-scale narrative scenes, and on-the-go event coverage. One of the practical strengths that becomes clear after a day of use is how the panel handles heat. Many LED panels that push high output tend to get warm enough to force you into a breakdown schedule, especially when you're running them at 100% for longer takes. The GT3 XL's internal design, which spreads the heat across a larger aluminum chassis, keeps the surface temperature comfortably low. I ran it at full power for a 45-minute interview, and my hand never felt the kind of heat that would make me worry about touching the front face. For a solo operator juggling a camera, mic, and a few batteries, that peace of mind translates directly into faster setup times. You can hand the light to a crew member or even reposition it yourself without waiting for it to cool. Color fidelity is another area where the GT3 XL shows its worth. The unit uses a set of high CRI LEDs that stay within a tight 5600K range, which is the typical daylight balance most video workflows aim for. In practice, this means you can pull footage straight into DaVinci or Premiere and spend less time correcting a color cast that often pops up with cheaper panels. The panel's built-in dimmer is smooth and silent, so you can dial down the output on the fly without hearing a whine that would otherwise get captured by a sensitive shotgun mic. I found this especially useful when filming a live music performance where the ambient stage lighting was already dynamic. Tweaking the panel's intensity didn't introduce any audible noise, and the color stayed consistent throughout the set. Now, no light is perfect, and the IRiS GT3 XL does have a couple of trade-offs that you'll notice if you push it into more specialized uses. First, the panel's power draw is respectable, but it isn't the most efficient on the market. When you pair it with a standard mount battery, you'll get roughly 3 hours of continuous full power operation. That's plenty for most short-form shoots, but if you're planning an 8-hour documentary day with multiple setups, you'll need either an additional battery or a generator on standby. The second point is the lack of a built-in battery. Some competitors ship with an integrated lithium pack that can be swapped on the fly, which reduces the number of cables you have to manage. With the GT3 XL, you'll be reaching for a separate power source every time, which adds a tiny bit of logistical overhead. Who should consider buying this panel? If you are a freelance videographer who frequently moves between tight indoor spaces and outdoor locations, the combination of size, heat management, and color consistency makes the GT3 XL a very solid middle ground choice. It's also a good fit for small production companies that need a reliable workhorse light without the budget blowout that comes with high-end cinema lights. The panel's mounting system is robust enough for a light stand, a gobo board, or even a small stand, which means you can adapt it to a variety of rigging scenarios without buying extra accessories. On the flip side, if your workflow leans heavily on battery-only shooting for an entire day, or you need a light that can double as a key light for a large studio set, you might want to look elsewhere. The GT3 XL's power consumption and lack of an integrated battery make it less ideal for marathon days where every gram of gear counts. Likewise, if you are a high-end cinematographer who demands the absolute highest CRI numbers and the ability to fine-tune color temperature across a broader range, you may find the fixed 5600K setting limiting.